get you.
Oh, well.
Okay.
Hey. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Holistic Freedom Secrets podcast.
Good day, love. Welcome back to episode 69.
Nice.
This is Move Day, and Move is one of the elements of a 5-pronged holistic healing system. Hey, Omi, hold on. Give me back.
And today is Move Day. As you know, our podcast follows our 5-pronged healing system: be, cleanse, fuel, move, and shine. Today is Thursday, so it's Move Day. And we are talking a little bit about fitness, as well as when it comes to cycle syncing. This wonderful chart that we got back here. How estrogen plays a huge role in cycle syncing for women's fitness routines and such things. So,
Maybe if I stand up.
yeah, for sure. Let's go ahead and get into it. Cycle syncing involves, first of all, tracking your cycle. This is for women. Tracking your cycle, knowing when it starts, when it restarts, and the different phases they're in.
I need to clear up a big misconception, okay, right here, because as soon as I say the word cycle, as soon as he says the word cycle, what goes on in a lot of your minds out there is menstrual cycle. So when you bleed and that's it. That is not the extent of your cycle, okay? There is a whole other piece. It breaks up a whole month into what you can think of as phases or seasons, kind of like seasons in a year. There are 4 seasons, there are 4 different phases in a month that your body will go through. And so when we say cycle, this does not only apply to women that still get their menses, okay? This does not only apply to you. This also applies to you if you're in perimenopause and postmenopause, because your hormones would normally take a certain rhythm, right? They go up, they go down, they come up, and then this one comes up and down, and that one comes up and down, and then this one comes up and down, and up and down, or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so what we're doing is we are coming back to a natural rhythm in the body. So when we say cycle, just think your body's natural rhythm, no matter what age you are. Of course, the levels of the hormones will be less as you age and go through perimenopause, and where they get produced will change. But you still need to keep in mind the ebbs and flows of the things. So when we talk about this, we're talking about the ebbs and flows of the things, okay? Okay.
Yeah. And on average, it's a 28-day cycle, just like the moon. So on average, your 28-day cycle is, like she said, broken up into 4 parts, give or take a day or two, depending, right? So 26 to 30 days. The first phase is when the bleed starts, when the bleed actually begins. So not the spotting, but the actual bleed. That's day 1. And from days 1 to day 10, you're in your first, what's called power phase. From day 11 to day 15, you're in what's called your manifestation phase, as well as probably ovulating. From days 16 to 19, you're in your second power phase. And lastly, day 20 through the last day until it resets with the first day of a real bleed, you're in your nurture phase.
And
this is all according to Dr. Mindy Pels in her online presence and presentations, as well as her book, Fast Like a Girl.
And because we know this part, that everyone has a different rhythm to their cycle. Everyone has a different rhythm to their cycle. Yes, they do. So some of people's cycles is like 26 days long. Some are 32, 34 even days long before it resets. And some people, even before they're in perimenopause, have experienced not even having a cycle that they can track based off of the bleed, because they've been victims of birth control for so many years. So
which is a huge hormone disruptor.
It is tragically
very well
very much
documented,
so.
but the documents are not just freely given out there at Planned Parenthood. Anyway,
Yeah. So, the piece to remember here is, say for someone that's not cycling, the way that we can, yeah, okay, the way that we can still like apply this message and have ourselves thrive is sync yourself up to the moon. And I don't mean anything like woo woo. I just mean look up when the new moon is, and that is your day one. Okay. Yes, that will help sync you back up to a rhythm so that you can follow this pattern of coming in and out of the different phases, or in and out of the different seasons of your cycle.
So if you could Google search or Brave search or DuckDuckGo search new moon October 2024, it'll tell you exactly when the new moon is going to occur in the sky in October 2024, and then you take that as your day one, and then day 1 through 10, 11 through 15, yada yada yada. Those are the phases. Now, when it comes to working out, there are optimal approaches to working out for your power phase, your manifestation phase, and your nurture phase. Remember, there's 2 power phases. So power phase 1, manifestation phase, power phase 2, and nurture phase.
Yeah.
And we've covered this about 3 or 4 times now in this podcast. So definitely check out other move days, as well as I think fuel days, or there's a couple where Coach Tensi was just kind of going in on this thing here. But basically, on a super basic level, and then we'll get into the large role that estrogen plays more deeply. During your power phases, you can focus on things like cardio, things like breathing, breathing hard and endurance, stuff like that. And then during your manifestation phase, you can, get a little more into resistance, also cardio and strength building. And then during your nurture phase, you want to bring down the intensity, not add a whole lot of stress to your body. And if you move, do things that you enjoy that are light in intensity. So dancing, walking, hiking. I don't mean hardcore dancing. You can dance in your nurture phase and nothing will happen to you.
Slow interpretive dance is the vibe.
Yeah,
okay?
But you can also like go out and dance if you so choose. You are not going to be hurt if you go dance.
You're not. However, this is about perfect practice. So nurture phase is all about nurturing yourself, nurturing your body. So if you're doing like a little dance stretch vibe, great. But if you're going hard and you're sweating bullets, you need to back off because you're dishonoring your hormones.
Right. So if you're sweating bullets, you can back off. Exactly. But there's no need to cut in to what I'm saying right here. So anyway, dancing, walking, walking like in the sun, if you will, and then things like stretching, yoga, things that are down on the intensity, so that you can avoid introducing like too much cortisol into your nurture phase, because your hormones are doing specific things. So that's the super basic level.
Yeah. Before we go any further, cortisol is a word that's kind of like that stress hormone. So whenever we feel like we want to fight, or when we want to like run away from a situation with flight, or when we kind of freeze or just kind of like have a moment of stress where we choose to kind of like have a freeze response or even fawning. When stress levels are high, that brings cortisol out of range, right? And there's a hormonal hierarchy that we talked about in earlier episodes that stands no matter if you're a man or a woman. Okay. And at the very top, just to quickly touch on it, there's four different hormones in this main hormonal hierarchy. And at the top regulates everything below it. Okay, so at the very top is oxytocin, which is kind of like the love and bonding hormone. So when you feel a meaningful connection, whether it's with yourself or with someone else, that gets oxytocin up, and that helps bring balance to everything, all the other hormones. Okay, the second thing in this hierarchy is cortisol. So basically, when any of these hormones are out of whack, it messes up everything below. Okay. So when you're not getting enough meaningful connection in your life, you're probably feeling a lot more stress, and cortisol is getting out of whack. Okay. So it's kind of like the schoolyard bully. When it's not treated well at home, when cortisol or when a schoolyard bully is not treated well at home, then they bring out all of that um, extra frustration and anger and resentment out on other people. And cortisol kind of does that. It'll make it harder for you to detoxify your body. It'll make it harder for you to stay in your mind in balance. It'll make it harder for you to regulate your blood sugar. Gotcha. And it'll make it harder for you to actually bring balance into your sex hormones. So right up under that is insulin. And insulin is the hormone related to blood sugar. So with insulin, one main thing to remember is that, hold on, sweetie. Gentle touch, okay? We're doing teams, big teams, okay? And I love you so much. Yes. Um it goes out of whack when there's too much sugar in the blood, or when there's too much glucose in the bloodstream. Okay, it can't fit inside your cells anymore, and it's got to go somewhere, so it gets just stored in the blood and stacks up to the point that your body can't handle it, and it's just too much. Which causes heart problems down the line too.
Whole bunch of problems.
A whole bunch of problems, brain issues, reproductive issues, all the things. So when we eat things and we start to feel uh, that brain fog, that fatigue, that's a sign that our sugar's been spiked up too high and we crashed. Okay. But yeah, so that regulates what's underneath at the very bottom level, which are our sex hormones. Estrogen is a main one. Progesterone is also a main one, especially for women. And women, we're also dealing with testosterone, but that's mostly like what guys go through in their hormonal cycles. But when we don't have our stress in check, when we're over exercising during certain phases in our cycle, when we need to be chilling out, like the nurture phase, as Coach Soul mentioned, then that causes our body to go in over freak out mode, and all of the it has to like it's creating so many stress hormones that it has to store it somewhere, and it just ends up getting stored as fat. So that's why when you're in your nurture phase, when hormones are high, you have to chill out. You gotta chill out. You can't be doing the most, especially when progesterone is high, because progesterone needs you to nurture her as a sex hormone. She just needs you to nurture yourself, and listen to your body and really like tune in. Okay, that's what I want to say about that.
Cool. And estrogen is highest in the manifestation ovulation phase.
Yeah.
So to support estrogen, strength building, cardio, resistance training, when it comes to your fitness, are some good go-tos. High intensity interval training, lifting weights. These things are super duper cool. And estrogen plays a big role in joint health. So it helps lubricate the joints, maintain flexibility. Um, you'll want to stretch all throughout your um, 28 to or 26 to 35 day cycle. Um, all throughout this, on average, 28-day cycle, you'll want to be stretching, before, maybe during, and after any sort of movement, intentional movement that you do. But when it comes to the manifestation phase where estrogen is at its highest and you want to support it, pay close attention to your joints and uh, notice, how maintaining flexibility and getting deeper into the stretches and breathing deeper into the yoga poses and things like that may be a little easier, and you can go a little bit harder with those things because estrogen says so. Um,
And to be clear,
mhm.
we just said earlier that when hormones are high, chill out. Especially that really applied to progesterone. Estrogen is pretty stress resilient overall, but with anything, with any of these sex hormones, if you go past a certain point of chronic stress, none of them can take it. So that's why you can still lift weights in, say, your manifestation phase when testosterone peaks, because testosterone gives you that drive, and estrogen happens to be at her peak, and she helps lubricate the joints. So your body's is able to get into some of those finer movements a little bit more easily. Okay, so that should clear that up and um, kind of help make sense of the why behind it.
Yeah. And then lastly, Coach Tensi wanted to touch on the protein deception, what you need to know regarding protein, especially when it's on the ingredient list, not so much the nutritional fact sheet, but in relation to fitness, the protein myth.
Yes. So there are so many myths when it comes to protein. And I learned one of the biggest ones in the past few weeks when we talked about excitotoxins. And it's such a hidden one, it's so sneaky that it deceives all of us. And we're thinking that we're doing this thing that's so healthy for us by consuming this type of protein. But what we're actually doing is we are uh, setting ourselves up for more autoimmune conditions down the line without even knowing it, or even stuff like dementia and really damaging our brain real time and our nervous system. So uh, yeah, it gets real. So we're gonna get into that piece that is missing from most likely everyone's story, because even the influencers that I follow that are like super clean eating, and they're like, yeah, I stand up for, like, or I stand against all of the crap that they put in our food,
Uh-huh.
and you guys should not be eating these things because it has this in it, and all of that, but they still miss it because it is so hush hush. It is so hush hush. Like the big corporations have already paid off the scientists to submit the publishings and the studies that say that it's all good and it's safe and it's effective and all of that. However,
Yeah, you remember safe and effective from the COVID lies.
let that just
I'm just gonna drop that
stand there.
right here real quick.
Yeah. And it's not, it's literally like there's a neurosurgeon that wrote about this and perused through hundreds of studies that prove otherwise. And his name is Russell Blaylock, if you want to check out his
Russell
work.
Blaylock, yeah.
His work, yeah, on excitotoxins. So protein, yes, we do need more protein as we age. Now, the big myth number one is want to say the big myth number one. It's where we're getting our protein from, and saying that we can only get protein from meat. That was like the first thing that I ever believed when it came to protein, was that okay, it's only in meat. The lie in that is no, it's not, because in 3 tablespoons of pumpkin seeds, you can get 10 grams of protein. In plants, you can get protein, and it's a complete protein. Like, you don't have to eat all of these different things in order to get protein. You can get protein from plants, and your body more easily assimilates them, especially if you are properly preparing these plants. Okay, that's important. So, first myth is that you can't get it from anything but meat. So your chicken, your poultry, your
They know what meat is.
even fish, and so early on in my journey as a child, my family started eating fish, and I was still getting sick from eating fish, and it wasn't quite, I felt like there was another way here. And so what my family did, which was another pitfall, was we fell into the trap of vegetarian or vegan junk food protein. So these are the processed meats, processed vegan meats in this case, where it's like the burgers and patties, where it looks kind of like the thing, but it's not the thing. Okay. And eating those for protein. But little did we know that it was packed with these hormone disruptors and these things that were actually causing crazy brain fog and all these different skin issues and all these different issues that I was experiencing in my health. Okay. So, second big myth about protein is that as you get older, you don't really need to worry about it as much. I mean, and if you do worry about it, then you got to be drinking protein drinks. Now, protein shakes and things, saying that that's actually healthy is a lie most of the time, because there is there's something in the ingredient label that I'm going to get into right now that actually leads us to think something that's not going on. Okay, so when we see protein in the ingredient label, so get a package of something. Get a package of something like, even this water has nutrition facts, which is this little table right here, and then it has an ingredient label. Somewhere else down here, it says ingredients with a colon, and that's how we know it has an ingredient label, or in this case, it says contents. But nutrition facts, it'll list protein. Cool, sounds great. We can't stop there. So when we stop there, that's where we do ourselves a disservice, right? We can see how many things of protein, but what is the source of it? That really matters. That really matters, because we can either be poisoning ourselves, or we can be fueling ourselves properly. So when you see on the ingredient label the word protein, that is a good indication that it is an excitotoxin. And what makes it an excitotoxin is that there is a higher level of an amino acid, which is a kind of like a Lego. An amino acid is kind of like a Lego, like a building block to make protein. Yes. And with protein, when we just see it listed, that means that they got a higher concentration of some amino acids like glutamate, which they do it for taste. The food scientists go in there and they like tweak the things, and they're like, I can patent this now. And then I can sell this because I will be the only one that can actually benefit from it. And the diabolicalness of it is that it also, by them bringing the concentration, by them increasing the volume on this one amino acid, it brings the whole thing out of balance. And that brings your whole body out of balance. You ever heard of what the phrase, and you are what you eat? Well, you are what you assimilate, and you are what toxins come into your body, right? They all play a role. So when glutamate gets amped up and put into your packaging, and it gets on the ingredient list and it says whey protein, then you know now, baby. Even if it says chia seed protein, no, these are, if it said protein in the ingredient label at anywhere, it is an excitotoxin, and you need to put that back, even if it's in the health food store, because they don't know.
And what it'll say instead when it's not an excitotoxin and there's protein in terms of the nutritional fact sheet, when there's, such and such grams of protein, it'll just list the whole food that the protein is coming from by itself. It won't say beef protein. It won't say, you know, lentil protein, pumpkin seed protein. It won't say the word protein in the ingredients list, because it'll just list the whole food, and that's what provided the protein that is listed in the nutritional fact sheet.
One that's crazy is soy protein isolate. That's another one it's not only an excitotoxin, but it's also an obesogen.
Yeah.
So
a double whammy.
It kind of like causes obesity. It really does. It'll force your cell from being whatever it was going to be, whether it was helpful, like a good old helpful muscle cell or a good old helpful organ cell, and it'll turn into a fat cell. So watch out if it says protein. Okay, these are some big deceptions that no one talks about.
No one knows about.
Yeah. Because it's been so silenced.
So get the book by Russell Blaylock, Excitotoxins. Learn you something. Look up excitotoxins on YouTube and any other platforms that you like to look into the counterculture or get the truth from. Discern for yourself what's complete nonsense and what's actually leading you to an understanding of truth. Hit us up in the comments with what you're learning and what you're trying out in your own home. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow the page,
and share this with
out.
Someone you care about that needs to hear this too, because they're also on a health journey, and they might be struggling trying to figure out all the things like I used to be.
Okay? Yeah.
So this is why we create this content, and this is why we are here sharing the things. Okay, Taylor.
And we will see you all tomorrow for Shine Day. Peace.
Okay. Next time.